It started through my celebrity TV show, The Basia Show. I quickly realized that my purpose was so much more than simply interviewing celebrities. I've always wanted to build a global network to elevate women, but I was afraid. So one day, I realized that I already had the platform and I just needed to be my authentic, vulnerable self. So I decided to call up some queens from around the world, and they all agreed to pull up. That was the moment we launched the Ask Basia video podcast, and we're just getting started. We're going to change this game. We're going to teach women how to treat each other and how to treat themselves right. You feel me?
Hey guys, it's your girl Basia. Today is Tuesday, so you know what's up. It's time for the Ask Basia video podcast. And today our topic is, has digital technology hijacked communication and marketing? I want to say media as well. And if you are having a difficult time with this transition, so am I. If you've been doing media, PR, communication, marketing for the past 20 years, like yours truly, you would have experienced a shift or may have seen a shift coming. Digital technology has changed the game, I think I would say forever. And we have every reason to believe there's more to come. Once upon a time, we had CNN, and CNN was regarded as the most up-to-the-minute outlet. And then Twitter arrived and obliterated traditional media and delivered, news in a second. So today, I'm joined by some queens. I can't talk about all these issues by myself, and I'm not the expert. So I had to take a trip around the world to call in the big guns. And today I would like to welcome back, I'll start with our bottom left, Dr. Rhonda McCowan. She's a mother of two beautiful people. Her 17-year-old daughter is a music-loving and adventurous young woman on the autism spectrum. Dr. McCowan is a Canada Research Chair in Tactile Interfaces, Communication, and Cognition, and is a professor of emerging media and communication. Dr. McCowan is the director of the Institute of Communication, Culture, Information, and Technology at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. Oh God, help me. Mississauga. Mississauga. Right. And I've been there, so that's very embarrassing, but it's been a 2-week hiatus. Leave a girl alone. And then we're going to the top center. We're going up to New Jersey, Teaneck to be exact. And we want to welcome back Mrs. Joanne Gadsden. She's back for a second time. It was so nice. She got to do it twice. Joanne Gadsden has over 20 years human resources experience in the pharmaceutical, consumer packaged goods, and software industries, holding positions of increasing responsibility during her tenure. Prior to joining WorkStrive, she was a senior director, human resources for Antenna Software. Joanne is a strategic business partner with the innate ability to understand high-level business objectives and develop people and culture initiatives that have a positive business impact. She has expertise in the areas of culture, performance management, employee relations, full circle recruiting across functions, and employee coaching and counseling. Joanne has her BBA in finance and banking with a concentration in psychology from Hofstra University. So I would imagine that digital technology has really impacted HR. And we're moving to Tennessee, and we're welcoming back this queen who started this thing with me, Dr. Ayana Elaine Eastman. Dr. Ayana Elaine Eastman is a native of Trinidad and Tobago who believes in the importance of pursuing your dreams. Her career path has included communication and public relations experiences with state and international agencies such as the United Nations. At present, she's an assistant professor of communication. Is this right? Yes? single mother of a tenacious 14-year-old girl and an avid writer, she shares her thoughts and musings on motherhood, singleness, dating, and more on her blog, Successful Mom. In her spare time, she hikes mountain trails and plans events. And most of all, she wants you to know she's a woman of God. Is that the correct bio I read, Dr. Eastman?
Yes, it is.
Okay, something's wrong with me today. And last but by no means least.
You're perfect. You're perfect. Nothing's wrong.
Thank you. Thank you, Whitney Marshall. Whitney Marshall back from the tri-states. Well, actually from New York. New York. It's our girl, Whitney Marshall, attorney at law. Whitney Marshall is an entertainment lawyer by day and a dating coach by night. Girl after my own heart. She's a founder of Yes to 50, a dating accountability group she started in 2019 before the COVID-19 pandemic. As the leader of Yes to 50, she has established a shameless dating brand where she encourages women to get in touch with who they are, accept their flaws and relationship needs, and put themselves out there so they can find their perfect partners. She's the daughter of Jamaicans from St. Elizabeth and Kingston and enjoys spending time reading psychology and dating books. Ladies, welcome back to the Ask Basia video podcast. You see, I almost forget the name of the podcast. Too much break, too much hiatus. Okay. I was like, not a break, please. It's an honor to have you all. Please pardon me. Something's up today, but I'm a little rusty and we're going to get started right now. I'm ready and sharp. How y'all doing?
We're good. Good.
I'm getting straight to it because rumor has it Dr. Eastman got to leave us because she has places to be and people to meet. So she's leaving shortly and I want to get her take on this because she's one of the experts on the panel today. But I'm starting with Dr. McEwen. Canada coming in strong. Dr. McEwen, I'm starting with you. Sure. Has digital technology hijacked communication, marketing, media, PR, you name it?
I'm going to be controversial to kick it off. And
I love it.
I'm going to say no and we'll get to that later. So do you want me to just give my answer and then we come back, right?
Yeah, so you said no.
I'm going to say no. No, not really.
Not really. Well, we're going to Dr. Eastman, the other professor communication, and we want to hear what the other professor in Tennessee has to say today. What are you saying, Dr. Eastman? Has digital technology hijacked the thing?
Well, I'm always controversial as well. So I'm going to say no, because I still teach the traditional. And, one of the things I checked up even before I came here, looking up my facts and figures, the traditional media is trusted much more than the non-traditional social media that's out there.
Wow. Well, I'm going to leave the legal expert for last and I'm going to HR because I don't know what y'all saying. But HR, what do you have to say, Joanne Gatson, about whether digital media has hijacked? And I use the word hijack loosely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like controversy.
One of the things you asked us was hijack too strong of a word? I actually think it is too strong of a word.
But answer the question now.
Yeah. But has it, I'm sorry I had to go there. But has it impacted us? Yes. I'm not sure I'm all the way yes or all the way no, but I'm kind of somewhere in the middle.
This is not industrial relations. This is not industrial relations.
It's definitely impacted. Yes, I say yes.
Well, I can't wait to hear what the attorney has to say about this. Your client's counselor.
I would say yes.
Yes. I love it. I love it. So now I am going back to Toronto. Mississauga, to be precise. I get it right. Now, Dr. McEwen, why you say no?
Right. I'm gonna explain myself because I need to explain myself.
Correct.
What I think is that by saying it that way, it makes it sound as if the technology is leading the change. And from my research and looking at what we see out there, I actually think consumer behavior may be hijacked marketing and communication as well. And the technology facilitates it and absolutely offers it a place to go. And so for me, these technologies are sometimes leading, but most times following. What we actually are seeing is a massive change in the way that consumers and customers interact with their businesses. No longer is the best mousetrap, which we were taught in school, right? Going to bring you your customers. It has a lot more to do with relationship and communication, and that's a demand of our consumer base versus technology generating that change.
So and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you saying that technology is just a facilitator of the changes the consumers are really demanding?
I think so. I think really people have demanded of their products and services a certain level of interaction and immediate responsiveness that technology certainly helped drive. But I actually do think that what we're seeing is much more. We need to turn the focus off of Twitter or whatever platform we're thinking of, even mobile phones, and focus on what fundamentally shifted in human behavior and the way that we interact with our businesses such that they're no longer untouchable. And I think that there are many factors that got us to this point. But I agree with Dr. Eastman that it's not going to go back. And you said it too. I think we're here to stay.
It don't mean that I like it.
we don't always like
it. So I'm not going to go to Dr. Eastman yet because I usually can predict a controversy. I want to go to the counselor. All right. So, counselor, take us to the courtroom. Tell us.
I think, well, first and foremost, I will say this. I think change is the only constant. But that doesn't necessarily mean that hijacking doesn't occur when change is happening. So I work in television. Technology has completely disrupted the way people watch TV. And in turn, it has made, working in the entertainment business very challenging. So there's that piece of it. But then the thing that really makes me think technology has hijacked communication as we know it is the fact that we see all of this misinformation about politics online that we've really never seen before. And I definitely think, the fact that we rely on Facebook and Twitter and these social networks that enable people to be in an information funnel has hijacked our society.
So I purposely included the word hijack because of the limited ability to filter such platforms. Not that it's not good, not that we don't need it, not that we shouldn't have it, not that I want to go back, but the filtering bothers me, But let me not tell you my overall thinking, and I would go to HR as I tend to do in any matter that bothers me in my organization. So I'm going to go to Mrs. Joanne Gatson. What say you?
So it's interesting. So I agree with Dr. McEwen and with Whitney Marshall completely on both sides. And the way I'm going to talk about it is, so with Whitney Marshall, the way she's speaking about it, I kind of think about my internal customers, all of my employees that make my team up. With Dr. McEwen, I think about my external customers, our customers, our consumers. We're a B2B company, so our customers that we work with. And she's 100% right. They demand, it's all about a relationship. It's all about that face-to-face communication. They don't want the digital piece. They like the digital piece, right? We're a software company, so they absolutely want that digital piece, right? But they also demand that relationship. Where I find is my internal customers, my employees, what it's affected so much. People don't know how to build a relationship anymore. People don't know how to have a face-to-face conversation. People go to our instant messaging for their first mode of communication. So, that's why I was saying yes and no. So I guess, as I'm talking this through, my internal customers, my employees definitely hijacked, external, probably not so much, because I think they do demand that relationship. But just it's really overall affected communication and how you communicate with people. And again, so many people are they rely on their phone or the device. Nobody can talk to one another anymore.
And I think it's teaching them how not to spell right. Because when I see the text I'm getting from the young people, and I have to bust my brain to see what these abbreviations mean. When I use hijack. When I look at it from a hijacked perspective, those are the things I'm referring to. And like you, I'm in agreement with both ladies who are I can't do without it. I am fully in agreement with Dr. McCruin, but I'm fully in agreement with Whitney Marshall.
Absolutely.
It's one of those kinds of discussions. Okay, Doc in Tennessee, Dr. Ayana Elaine Eastman, What say you? You always bring it right for me. Come on, let's no filter.
So I study risk communication, and one of my studies focuses in particular on the US, how risk messages are conveyed. And when I looked at things like Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Sandy, and the messages that were sent out to different population groups, it wasn't the technology that saved lives. It was face-to-face communication and people who other people trust. So you trust people who look like you. You trust your faith-based agencies, So yes, I see the importance of the social media, the internet driving, as Dr. McEwen said, driving, the communication, facilitating the process. And yes, I see the importance of the social media hijacking this whole, at least, as Basia said, hijacking. But at the end of the day, that basic instinct, the survival instinct, the thing that keeps us alive is the traditional media.
Certainly, I'm 100% in agreement with you. Or certainly the desire for the traditional media. For those of us who, and I'm going to come right back to you because I know you have to leave us for a function. So I'm going to start with you. I know for those of us who have the good fortune of being raised or being from the Caribbean, we are some of the few people in this world that would still witness a papers man selling papers, a papers vendor, I should say, selling the newspaper, the Gazette, very early in the morning, and it's in high demand. I was very amazed by a mutual friend of ours, Dr. McCurran, who would pick up her paper at a certain place in the West, and it struck me at that point. I didn't even know if to feel bad or if to feel good, because I consider myself someone who I stay abreast, of course, now of technology. I am always out there hunting and trying to keep abreast as an entrepreneur. But when I saw that and I saw other people going to grab their Gazette, it was such an unusual sight. It was a blast from the past, because where I live in North America and where we travel outside of North America, whether it's to the UK and so on, that is not something I see. So when I see those reminders, and when as an entrepreneur in media, when I'm negotiating with my clients and see the drastic shift that has taken place in I wouldn't even say a 5-year, but even a 3-year time span, and where budgets are being assigned to now for advertising, it's crazy. If you don't stay abreast, you sink. So Dr. Eastman, how has the messages, this new messaging rather, type of messaging, digital messaging, digital technology impacted PR and news from where you sit, communication? Give us a definition, and not necessarily the pros and the cons at this stage, but in general, you say you still teach the traditional form. Is it, I think it's more appropriate to ask you, does it make sense for universities to teach traditional form And that's not a catch question. It's not it's not meant to be controversial. It's
Right.
really something that I want to know authentically, because we're preparing people. What would be the justification for it to be taught in the traditional
Right.
sense? That's
like what the young people say now, right? They say, they look at us in school and they're like, why go to school when I can be a TikTok superstar, right? I can have X amount, come on, make a video and get 1 million hits, and I'm making more money than any professor.
Correct.
Right? So yeah, I get it. But as I tell my PR students from the get-go, I said public relations is about building mutually beneficial relationships, right? And on top of that, one of the rules of thumb is be truthful. They don't expect that part, because they expect what we've been told is that public relations is about spinning messages. But really, it's about your reputation and the reputation of other organizations that you work with. So even if you're a TikTok superstar, a Facebook superstar, entrepreneur, whatever, LinkedIn, well, not LinkedIn so much, but
it can be a LinkedIn superstar too.
Well, I guess so, but you still need to be credible. People still need to believe you. When you say you're going to do something, that you're doing it, and you're doing it the right, whatever is the right way, or the way that people can look to you and say, hey, John Quincy, Sexy said he was going to do XYZ and he did it. He jumped over the bridge, right? That's credibility too, So I teach the foundations of media, the foundations of communicating, the importance of communicating.
And that hasn't changed.
And that hasn't changed.
Yeah. I see Dr. McCowan agreeing and shaking her head. So I think I want to bring her in next, because you are also a professor. And I think your, if I'm wrong, correct me, but I think your portfolio has more to do with the new and emerging.
Absolutely.
So that's why I was so excited to bring you two together.
Well, and it's so interesting that the two of us, although Dr. Eastman is doing much more of the really, I love that we call it traditional. I find it such a strange word, because it's still, it's not like it's dead and gone, right? Like it's still the mainstay of our media, especially, as she said, credible sources of media continue to be, and even more so with the amount of dis and misinformation we've seen. Now we see that people finally start saying, okay, actually, I need to get my news not from Facebook, but maybe from other, qualified, legitimate news sources. And journalism has actually been on the rise since new media and social media have come in. So what I'll go back to say is I do a lot in emerging media, right? That's my main space. And I think we need to separate two things. Neither Dr. Eastman nor I are saying that things haven't changed.
Yeah.
Nor have things not been disrupted. We are agreeing 100% with those sentiments. I think what we're also bringing to the conversation is that maybe things have changed for other reasons. So I'll go back to something that was said earlier. Television was one of the last to go through a big revolution, right? TV kind of maintained its position. But I'm a telecommunications engineer from my master's. And so from a technology perspective, these changes we see in television have been coming for a long time. Right? Long time. This is over 30 years of change on the technology. Now, what happened in between is things like, I don't know if you remember Napster. Now, this is dating us. So
I don't remember anything like that.
Napster was really founded in 1999, but really came on the scene in 2002. And Napster brought about a streaming service. They were the first ones to really talk about, well, we don't need to buy the whole record. What if you just want one song? What if you can put that together? And what if they won't share it with you because of copyright law? We'll find a way around that. Napster didn't come up with this as a kind of a brilliant idea in a bathroom. They were watching what people were doing. And if you want to be honest, we were mixing tapes off the radio.
Oh, God. I wasn't doing that. What is a tape? What is a tape?
I know. A cassette tape. And we were doing some of that. And so what they did is they basically took advantage of what they were seeing and created a platform to make it.
They looked at the data and let it inform them.
Look at human behavior. Cell phones became, texting came about because Japanese teenage young women were using phones and creating their own language based on numbers. So it started with pagers, not with the cell phone. And the cell phone saw the pager movement,
and it evolved.
Trying to send data, and they took advantage. So for me, I'm always very careful about technological determinism, which says technology caused it, versus let's look at what people were doing and are doing and follow those breadcrumbs, and then we might see actually how the technology capitalizes and tries to make money.
Boy, okay. You see, listen, you all don't understand. When my queens pull up, right? It's facts. These women are brilliant. And you know, I boast about you all when I go on the street. I'm like, have you seen our show? We have the brightest minds around the world. And when I say it to them, they don't necessarily like to receive it. But I'm saying it to y'all. If you're listening, if you're watching, this is why you need to watch this platform. Because when my queens pull up from around the world, you have to learn something. Dr. McCohen, thank you for that. That's facts, you know. Let's go to Joanne Gadsden. Joanne Gadsden, HR. Now, I've had the benefit of being in all the worlds with a legal mind, even though I'm not an attorney. So when you all are talking, I can so immerse myself past to present. I started in the corporate world in HR. I can imagine what's going on now. I'm no longer doing that side of HR. I'm still in communication from an entrepreneurship standpoint, went through print, TV, digital. I've been walking the streets, but with an HR mind, with a legal mind. So I am very interested to hear what you have to say on how this has impacted HR, if you like it, you know, how it's impacted in messaging. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think it definitely has its pros and its cons, right? You know, it's convenient. It disseminates information so efficiently and quickly. So that's the pro of it. The cons is that it has definitely affected overall productivity. In the workplace. It's affected altering like people's morals and values. You know, I hate to say it, but just the way people see something and they automatically think it's Bible, as opposed to doing some research to really get the facts and see is it really rooted in something that's true. You know, is there data to support it? And I know that's one thing that we always talk about, you know, in our organization is like, you know, what's the data? What's the facts? You don't want to just be throwing things out there just because you heard it someplace.
I just have a follow-up question for you as we talk about HR. You can still continue to say what you were going to say, but please address the issue of traditional HR when HR would wait on the PR department to send out the message, to send how has that been impacted from an HR point of view?
So, I mean, right now I work for a small organization, so I think I am kind of PR. You know, we only have 36 employees, so I've been away from larger organizations, the larger pharmaceutical and consumer packaged goods organizations for a while. I think it all kind of resides with me right now and my leadership team. So we have the advantage that we can actually manage that.
Merge,
We can't really talk too much about how larger organizations are handling that right now. But then we also have against us too, you know, the whole social media thing. And then you have all this information, but then you have your employees sounding off on different things. And I have absolutely had people reach out to me, find me on LinkedIn and said, your employee said this, this, and this, and did this and this. And is this the type of person you want working for your organization? So we do have, you know, a social media policy that basically just says, in a nutshell, just watch what you say and do. You know, you are a representative of the organization.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to manage that. So it goes back to overall, like, you know, again, affecting their productivity because people are addicted to it. They watch it during the day as they're walking to the bathroom, as they're walking back from the bathroom. And, you know, now that everybody's working from home, you can't control any of it, right?
No.
You don't know what people are doing.
Yeah.
So it definitely has, like I said, impacted more of the internal customer for us, like our employees.
Yeah. And it's very interesting for you to bring that perspective, because if you were not on the panel, I don't think I would have seen that. I would be thinking more of the external consumers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dr. Eastman, I know that you have another place to be at this time. So, I'm so happy that you were able to bring the raise the traditional approach and give us a little perspective. I would love for you to have stayed longer, but all good things must come to an end, and I'm going to see you soon.
Yes. Nice meeting you, ladies.
Bye-bye.
All right. See you soon. Bye. Yeah, sorry about that. So Whitney Marshall, I can't wait, because you were the only one who outrightly declared, very brave, to say, listen, it has hijacked. So give us the direct impact on entertainment as you see it, on from a legal perspective, particularly. The law is the law, the word is the word, and maybe you're out there seeing people changing all these law, on social media, and that's crazy. And digital, and they put it through the digital marketing machine, because it's not just social media that's a part of the digital marketing machine. So let's be very clear on that. I should know better.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would say is, from a business perspective, thinking about big networks, TV networks, big radio stations, music outlets. Digital media has hijacked our relationships with talent as we know it. Okay. So think about it this way. Before, when somebody was on a TV show, the TV network would have complete control over the PR involved, right? No press releases are released without the network signing off on it. Talent usually, they're not permitted to talk about the projects they're working on until they get the green light from the network. But now, because everybody's on social media, sometimes we can't control what the talent does on their social media accounts. And so we have to look out for ourselves, right? Yeah. Or we have to look out for the company, the TV network, because the last thing we want is to have the star of a show say something racist, sexist, whatever on their social media, and then there's a backlash.
Yeah.
When that happens, the network is also harmed.
Yeah.
Because it makes the network look bad. So I think it's interesting because, as I was saying before, the network had more control over the network's image, the talent's image, and whatever show.
I understand what you're saying totally.
Right. But now it's fascinating because social media too has started to impact how networks determine who the talent is going to be in the first place. So something people ask
numbers,
now is,
numbers, how much followers you have.
Yeah, how many followers do they have? What are they about? So it's just been interesting because another conversation that is had often is, okay, well, how much do we want to try to control the talent and what they put on their social media? And these days, a lot of the time, the talent has all the leverage. They're the ones who have, hundreds of thousands of followers, and all it takes is one post on their end. And they own their social media accounts and everything that's posted up there. So that definitely takes the control out of the network's hands. So it hijacks our relationships with talent in that way.
So, what's interesting? I'm literally the center of all of you guys, right?
That's true.
I knew that Whitney Marshall would come on here and say exactly that. I knew. So when I tell people all the time, like, I'm the alchemist, like when we do the roster for our podcast, we know exactly what we're cooking up, right? Because I have been in a part of your world as somebody who represented a lot of talents from the Caribbean as well for PR purposes, et cetera, et cetera. I understand exactly what you're saying with regards to and that's the reason I inserted the word hijack, because I have seen that. I have experienced the hijacking of digital technology in those sectors. not so much. I think it has improved communication and media from a technical standpoint. Like if I'm to be honest, I like as an entrepreneur the ability to collect data, the ability that for small businesses we are now able, and not many people can say that, to spend limited dollars and in the right spots and get maximum returns. Many years ago in advertising and marketing, you have to have a big budget to get significant returns. And if I'm being honest, with very limited data being provided to you, digital technology, because of experts like Dr. McCowan and others, they can now cook up all these things coming to us, right? And we can say, where's the data? Show me the data. All right, I'm spending that. I want to target Mississauga, New York, New Jersey, Atlanta, Georgia. We did not have the ability to do that just a few years ago. Correct, Dr. McCowan?
Mm-hmm. That's right. And yeah, that's absolutely right.
Yeah. So
I just wanted to comment on what you're saying, Basia, because, you know, what Whitney Marshall just said, what actually got hijacked is the control. And that is really fundamentally what got hijacked. And it's not that hijacking of control, though, brings a certain, you know, from a political economy perspective, we think about agency and the client-agent relationship, blew that up. And I actually think that the corporation controlling the brand, therefore controlling the talent from that perspective, now we see personal branding and the ability for people to regain control over their personal image. And I mean, Basia, I don't know if anybody does it as well as you do in terms of building that personal brand.
Thank you.
And so for me, the what got blown up there too was the gatekeeping. And now we have places where people who never would have been given a chance in these large agencies can actually go out on their own. I mean, I'm going to be all Canadian repping right now, but I could do Trinidad easily too. But Drake had no contract, right? You put your stuff out there.
Justin Bieber,
right? And there's so many instances where the talent that we see now actually came about and were facilitated through digital media. And so I do think on the one hand, it has been a downfall to the large, giant organizations that had a lot of control, and that grappling with the loss of control is difficult. I work for a university. Our faculty are active on Twitter, and that is part of the actual academic, we call it now the para-university sphere, where it's outside of our boundaries. And we cannot, like a private company, tell people what they can and cannot post. So Joanne Gadsden's organization has the ability to do that. We cannot tell faculty what they can say or how they engage because they have academic freedom. But in the meantime, what we are doing is offering other supports and other education around how these platforms work, how to manage this, and how to mitigate the risk. Right. So, and Dr. Eastman is in the area of risk. And we know that just the old school way of saying, do not do these things.
That's not working.
It's not going to work. And it actually, I'm okay with it not working. We're blowing up business models and we're really transforming what's happening. And I think people have wanted that for a long time.
Yeah. And I don't think, and I'm going to go back to Joanne Gadsden, but I don't think any of us are saying, if I'm correct, ladies, that, you know, it's not good. I think for the large part, even maybe Whitney Marshall would agree to this, the benefits far outweigh the cons, right? It's just that when you have the distinct honor of seeing the previous and the current, and thankfully you're able to keep up with it. Trying to be nice, right? Thankfully you're able to keep up with it because God bless you with a brain and you're keeping up, right? You can see the distinct difference. So there are things that may irritate you if you had the distinct honor of being at the end of the traditional era coming into this. You know, there's some things that would irritate you. But for me, I have seen where it's easier for corporations to make faster, more informed decisions as a result, of data. And it's just that I'm very traditional when it comes to filtering. I don't think that side of me, and I know that Dr. McCowan, you know, sort of don't like the word traditional. So give me a new word.
I am, I like to call it, you see, all media at one point were new, right?
Right.
And so I just like to make a distinction between like kind of existing media or previous media and new media or emerging media.
Correct. So the previous approach, where we had a more solid method, where we could take time to that's why a lot of these so-called celebrities with the followers, Whitney Marshall, are getting in trouble, because if people like Chrissy Teigen and others got someone to and a previous president got someone to sort of scan through and edit and say, oh, maybe you should consider saying it this way instead, it would save them from a lot of consequences on that they don't desire. But I want to hear what HR has to say again. Joanne Gaston, has this new approach been more beneficial, you feel, or less beneficial? Where are you with regards to the measurements? It's here to stay.
Yeah, it's definitely more beneficial. I mean, like you mentioned, I mean, just having access to all of the data. Yeah. The thing where it becomes, I think, hurtful, I don't know if hurtful is the right word, but going back to what Dr. McCune was saying around human behavior, consumer behavior, totally agree with that. And then you talk about Whitney Marshall, and she's talking about how talent feels like they have this platform and it's their responsibility to say all these things. And then you have my employees that are in like this, and they're absorbing every little thing that's there that may or may not be true. So it's like you've got to, I don't know what the word is. You have to be able to disseminate between the information, like what's fact and what's not fact.
Yeah. And Basia, can I just say that information literacy is what I just wanted to give you the term.
Yes.
Where we have a very information illiterate population, and that's part of the issue.
Especially if they have a huge following and limited knowledge. Not everybody who has a huge following has the ability to provide solid content. It may have come from their physical features or whatever, blah blah. And I'm saying this factually, not begrudgingly, or it is what it is. And just to say it, Whitney Marshall, one of the things that I wanted to share from my perspective and my experience in the industry, whilst keeping up and going through the waves, to this point, is that I'm actually happy for the talents, that they own their stuff, that they have some more leverage, because a lot of them were exploited. I had to read through a lot of contracts with limited legal, often reaching out to attorneys like yourself to advise clients and really see them fight for survival, with labels and so on. Like, that was crazy. And I'm sure they are happy that they can, handle. I also want to make reference to during COVID, how we were able, because of digital media, to survive. It's almost as though the universe and the creator of the universe, because I try to be fair to all, saw what was coming and prepared us with technology, and prepared us and say, hey, this is what's going to be happening in 2020. But before we get there, you better have Instagram, you better have Zoom, you better have TikTok, because DJ Nice would need to have a party. We're going to need to have Versus TV, give us a Beanie Man and a Bounty Killer Sound Clash. And who else did Erica Badu and somebody else and this and that and whatever. And it actually made, let's talk about the businesses that were created and the professions that were created as a result of this new media era.
Oh yeah.
I just wanted to, unfortunately, I do have to leave shortly too, but I wanted to say, even when we deal with misinformation
we're almost wrapped up, eh?
Right, yes. Even mis and disinformation, we can see now we've created a whole line of work for fact checking, right? Where people know that, hey, like, there's a lot of this rubbish out there. It has been a challenge for our platforms and for the legal teams for sure. But I think now that we see cancel culture and other things rising, we know credibility is becoming more and more important, which is why I said formal journalism is going to rise again.
Oh, I'm ready. Call me.
Yes.
Message me.
The pendulum is swinging back where people realize
you need real journalists.
Manipulated.
That's perhaps what's missing, right, Joanne Gatson? We need professional censors like moi to say, hey, let's make sure that we're still maintaining a credible and reputable institution, on the digital side, because that's what bothers me, Dr. McCurran. That bothers me a lot. Like as I said, I came in at the tail end of the previous. I kept up with the new media, but I still have these core values in me that I can't let go of. And I'm irritated to see people not maintaining reputation, credibility, and those things,
And the Gazette papers, that's for that reason, right? And you may not have that, but The Economist has just posted their earnings and it's on the rise again. So I think we're in a moment of the pendulum where it swung really far into everybody on a soapbox, and I think it's returning. People see the flaws, the deep flaws.
Well, I'm open to be a part of it, and I'm keeping up. But before we go, we want to talk. We have an open mic section here, and latest hot topics. I don't know. I think Joanne Gatson has something she wants to sound off on today.
Absolutely. So, just thinking about the fact that we thought that COVID was behind us, and now, my kids are getting ready to go back to school. We're trying to bring my employees back to work into the office. What does that look like? And just where I thought we were kind of turning a corner and we were okay to everything's going to be good, I'm not so sure anymore. I'm not so sure.
I have to agree with you. It has left me feeling some sort of ways over the past 2 weeks here. We had a hiatus, and I really felt it because our kids went back to school, but thankfully online, because this Delta variant is really concerning. We don't have the facts. We just want to follow the experts and advise everybody to do the same. Get vaccinated, wear your mask, and yes, I feel it. How is it over in Canada, Dr. McCurran?
Well, I have to say we started late. I talked to my colleagues around the world, and we were very frustrated in and around like February, March of this year that we were so slow on getting vaccines. But Canadians, once the vaccines came in, I now think we both were in the top 2 or 3 countries in the world in terms of vaccine numbers. So we are up at 81%.
Wow, I'm moving to Canada.
And the high 70s. Well, and we are planning to have the children go back to school in person. We felt that the costs were too high on having them remote. There are some programs that will be remote. My university is partial in person and remote because we can't get international students back. But I think COVID is teaching us many lessons here, and we have to learn, right? We have to learn what's being taught here, and we have to learn that we can't always predict, and we have to be prepared to move.
Correct. So I want to urge you all to go follow these queens on their respective social platforms, whether it be IG, Twitter. It's going to be in the body of this article associated with the broadcast on basiapowell.com. And this is the reason we do what we do. This is the reason I tell people every week, life will never be the same for me because of this platform and because of the amazing women I get to connect with every single week. I wish we could go on and on, but all good things must come to an end. This is the reason we created this podcast, to bring outstanding women together from around the world. It's a revolution. I want to leave you with this. 20 odd years ago, we had to pay to receive a cell phone call. CNN was the fastest news outlet. Social media has changed the game and digital technology. I cannot say the last time I saw or read a newspaper. For those of us who reside in North America, it is very uncommon to see a man at the side of the road selling a newspaper. The future is digital, and there's nothing we can do about it. Unfortunately, we are all forced to keep up with these changes, or we'll be left behind. You feel me? So remember to be careful what you say about each other. Thank you because it takes one to know one. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And to quote our son Russ, You did a good job, guys. Good job. You told me this week. Awesome job.